All right, guys, well, we'll make a start. So good morning and welcome to the second day of week 3 of your course. We are almost halfway there, which is pretty good. Another indication that time moves very quickly in 2021. I cannot believe that it's almost September. But anyway, it's one of those things. I can't really control time. So what we will do this morning is we will do a bit of a review and some practice with academic writing. Okay, so we'll look at a few things, including reports, and the structure of essays. And then we will look at an example essay. Okay, and then what we will do after that, depending on how we are going with time, we will continue working with your surveys, and you will have the opportunity to ask the members in your groups if you haven't already, and then you'll also have the opportunity to get some data from other students in this class that aren't in your group. And if we have time after that, we will begin the process of organizing and collating and collecting and evaluating our data. All right, so plenty to do. But yeah, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put you guys in little groups, and I'll give you a little speaking activity, and I will be asking you guys some questions. Okay, and I want you to work in groups to answer the questions. Okay. What I want you to think about when you are answering the questions is that there is not necessarily a right or wrong answer. We're just trying to activate our prior knowledge on this particular topic. All right, cool. All right, so the questions will come into your breakout rooms. So just make sure you check the chat.
Yep.
Do not panic if you don't receive any questions for 15 seconds, because you will after 30 seconds.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Mohammed.
All right, guys, I will put you in a group in a second. Just give me.
Hey everyone.
It's just you and Ahmed, because you are just arrived.
To be honest, I lost my mobile. I was looking for it everywhere, so I just found it. Luckily, yeah, it was in the back seat of my car.
Okay. Okay. Ahmed, I will assign you to group 1. Ahmed, I need to assign you Ahmed. Mr. Kevin.
Hey, Turkman.
Hey, Mohammed, how you going?
Someone told me you couldn't get in the site.
Yeah, I'm on the site, but you still sleeping there or what?
No, I'm in the
Just
site
woke
as
up?
well.
You just woke up?
No.
Are you working from site?
I'm at the site, man.
I don't think so. There's no noise around you. Should prove it. I can't hear the excavators. Okay, okay. Makes sense. Makes sense.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Where's your harvest? Okay, okay. You know, it was you, Mohammed.
Okay.
Ashley,
Yes.
why you were laughing on my text?
Sorry?
Why you were laughing on my text? Does it sound funny?
On your when you speak.
No, my answers. Our group answer.
No, I laughed
group.
when you. No, I laughed when you couldn't find the main room.
Okay.
I would never laugh to make. I would never laugh at your efforts to contribute to your group or to the class.
Oh no! I don't mean that. I thought there's something funny written there.
No, nothing particularly funny.
Good morning. Sorry for being late.
It's all right. It's good to have you on board. David, what do you know about essays and reports? What's the difference? Let's put him on the spot.
Essay and report. I mean, report is maybe more formal, and an
Maybe.
essay.
And an essay?
I mean, an essay might have more of a personal view to it. Like not exactly. Like both have to be somewhat objective, but a report is maybe more formal, scientific, and objective.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe in length, then a report would be longer.
Yeah, I would agree. And it's interesting you say the opinion based. So sometimes essays, you can have an argument essay, which you probably did in IELTS. And essays have what's called thesis statements. So there's always an argument presented in an essay, unless it's a reflective essay. When you're just required to kind of reflect on your experiences or the materials and then link them with theories and things like that. But yeah, good summary. Maybe David can teach the class for the rest of the day, I think.
Yeah.
I've got many things to do. I need to go and get a COVID test. I need to organize my vaccination,
It's a lot of things, yeah.
Yeah. You can look after me. I am just waiting on two other groups because they've almost finished. Okay, good. All right, cool. I'll end them. All right, guys.
Good to see you again, guys.
You too.
We too.
Yeah, hi again.
Hello again, everybody.
Hey.
Cool. Some good answers, and I like what I see from all the groups, actually. which is good. So thank you for your contributions. Yeah, so what we're going to do is we're going to review the structure of a report, sorry, an essay and then a report. Okay, and then we will look at, in an activity, we will look at an example of an essay and we'll sort of break it apart. And then you guys, hopefully, if we have time, we'll have an opportunity to practice planning. And if you like, you can write an essay that you can send to me later if you would like it checked. Cool. So look at essays first. Okay. So as most of you indicated, an essay structure includes an introduction, a body paragraph, and a conclusion. Some of you in your previous English study might not have included a reference list. However, when you are at university, the vast majority of the time you will be required to use a reference list. Okay. And can anyone tell me when or why we would need a reference list?
Say if
To
you
avoid the plagiarism.
Yes, to avoid plagiarism. That's the first one. Yep.
and when you use information that's not yours.
Correct. Exactly. Thank you, Kevin and Mustafa. So whenever you are using an idea that is not yours, okay?
Yeah, it is academic integrity.
It is academic integrity, yes, as Adam hopefully reminded everybody about in his lecture. Yes, academic integrity, and this is really important at in universities, as I'm sure you are all aware. But yeah, cool. So when we reference, there are two places in an essay we reference. Where are they?
Text and
Yep.
and end of the document or essay.
End of the sentence.
Yes, either in text or at the end in the reference list. Very good. Okay. Cool. And sorry, this will be the last question about referencing. When we do an in-text reference, there are two types of in-text references. What are they?
So one is within the sentence that we put in the page, and one is in the end note. So on the bottom of the page.
Yep. That's one type. But yep. So you can use footnotes. Yep.
You can either put a citation or sometimes you just mention it directly, like in 2000 something there was session by something.
Good. So the key word there was direct. All right. So you can do a direct quote or you can paraphrase. Okay. Either way, if the ideas are not yours or if you did not come up with the idea, then yeah, you need to reference them. Okay. Sorry, someone is waiting in the lobby. Abdul Nasser. I'm surprised it wasn't Mohammed Said or Kevin. The usual suspects. All right.
Like Mohammed Said.
The usual suspect. By the way, the usual suspect. If you watch the movie, it turns out he's not.
I'm surprised you're not in the movie.
Okay. Maybe I was faking it the whole time.
Yes. The usual suspects.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. I've lost my presentation. Cool. Can you see this still? Can you see my screen?
Yeah, we can see it.
Yep.
Yes, you did.
Cool. Okay. So The report structure includes the parts of the report and a report template activity, but we'll move on to that a little bit later. So as we have identified, the purpose of an essay is to show how well you have understood the question and are able to answer. So a report generally won't have a specific question where they get you to answer a question sort of straight away. There might be a research question within a report, or a theoretical question within a report, or there might be a hypothesis within a report, but it's not going to have a question right at the beginning that you need to answer immediately like you do in an essay. Okay. And as David mentioned before, essays usually require some form of argument or occasionally an opinion if it is an opinion-based or a reflective essay. But yeah, you need to kind of develop a view on the topic that you don't necessarily personally agree with, but you use supporting evidence to support that argument throughout the essay. Okay, cool. And an essay will contain a conclusion, but including recommendations is rare. There might be a suggestion or a brief sentence summarizing some recommendations in an essay, but it won't have a list or a paragraph of recommendations like you would see in an academic article or in a report. Cool.
What about
Yep.
problem solution essay? We say, like for instance, when we write essay about climate change or traffic jam in mega cities.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes.
Well, what's the difference between a solution and a recommendation?
Maybe Abdulaziz can answer that.
Why have you thrown Abdulaziz under the bus?
He just handed the ball to me.
It's a
Throw him
problem.
under the bus.
No, excuse me, Ashley. I think essay doesn't have a recommendation. Doesn't, you know, usually we will start with a question, but report we will start with a specific problem.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, correct?
Yep. So the recommendations in a report are more specific, and they are the result of your findings from your report, and they usually come from a professional background. Whereas, Rahim, if you and I write a problems and solutions essay, we are devising solutions to impress an examiner, not from a professional background.
It's not based on facts.
Yeah, it's usually not based on findings or as much literature or our personal experience in the process of writing a report. So recommendations are more professional. Okay, they're more professional, usually based on more data and more results and more findings, whereas a solutions is just more about your ability to create ideas under test conditions, I would say. Yeah, so that's the difference. But you can, sometimes students like to include a recommendation, a suggestion, a prediction, or a final sort of reflection in the last sentence of a conclusion, and that is okay. However, in an essay, you're not required to have a paragraph about recommendations. In your last sentence in a conclusion, you can just include a brief recommendation, but it's not a specific section like it is in a report. Okay.
Yep. Thank you.
Cool. No worries. All right. So as you have quite eloquently described in your groups and here, the purpose of a report is to convey specific information to provide the reader with information. Okay. It usually contains a description of events, results of research. And as some of you have mentioned in your groups, You may also need to analyze these events or results, or use them to put forward a proposal for future action or solve a particular problem. So the
Sorry, Ashley, I think we still in the first page. It's not change for the presentation.
It's talking about
Have
the
you changed?
slides.
Well, it's not changed.
Have you got the essay versus report slide?
No, it's outline.
Just the outline.
Still.
I think, yep. I think if you make enable editing, it will change.
Okay, sorry. Thank you for telling me. No, now I'm not sharing anything.
It's gone.
Yes, it's gone. Yeah.
No,
No, it's here.
It's still outline.
Yeah. Sorry, guys. Okay. What about now?
Here you go.
It's good.
Okay, so we just went over the report. So the purpose of a report is to convey specific information, okay, that we want to give to the reader. These are, you're probably familiar with these in your professional contexts. A report usually contains a description of events and results of the research. Okay, which you guys mentioned in your groups. You may need to analyze these events or results, or use them to put forward a proposal for future action or to solve a particular problem. So as some of you mentioned, that's the recommendations as well. Okay. And a report usually contains conclusions and recommendations as well. Cool. Any questions about that so far? Nope. Right. So generally speaking, essays have the same structure, okay? Okay, so an essay will include an introduction, okay? It will orientate the reader in the sense that it will inform the reader what the essay is about. It'll also identify the focus and the purpose and the scope, and it will also state the thesis, okay? So what the argument is. Generally speaking as well, in essays, and this is the structure that you were probably familiar with in terms of your prior study of academic English, the essay outline will include a body with a topic sentence. Okay, can anyone tell me what a topic sentence is?
About the body, what will cover in this text?
Yep. It's a sentence. That's right. It's a sentence which summarizes what will be covered in the paragraph. Good. Okay.
It's usually general statement that comes in the beginning of the paragraph.
Yep. It's a summary. It's a summary of the main ideas, i.e., what will be covered in the paragraph, and it's usually the first sentence in a paragraph. It's not always the first sentence, but it is usually.
But also it's part from thesis statement.
Now I'm having class.
Yeah. All right. Good.
Actually,
So,
what we were doing, the exercises we had yesterday, for example, the reading passage, is it essay? Is it considered as essay or not?
I would say that was more probably not an essay, just because there wasn't an argument.
Because
it's more descriptive.
I found it a bit confusing to know what's the topic of the passage.
Yeah, well, that's because they didn't really present an argument. Are you referring to the title energy one?
I mean, like, there's no sentence one in each paragraph,
Mm.
the topic, so you can tell which paragraph is this paragraph is talking about what exactly.
Well, that's right. It didn't really have like a clear. It certainly, I think the paragraphs had topic sentences, but they didn't have an introduction or a conclusion. So it wasn't an essay. Rather, it was just a text describing the overall trends and proposing some of the successes that could be used in the future with tidal power. But it wasn't a university style essay.
Okay, so for example, we've had the same we've had the same passages in IELTS exam, and they were asking us the same questions we had in the last session. What the paragraph is talking about.
Yep.
And once you read the sentence one, you feel the top. It's explaining what the writer is going to talk about in the same paragraph, but still it's confusing.
Yeah, so
it's not representing exactly the topic of the paragraph.
Yeah. Well, I mean, paragraph matching activities are confusing, but a paragraph matching activity usually will include a summary of the paragraph that you need to link to a body paragraph or a paragraph in the text. But those summary sentences in paragraph matching activities are different from a topic sentence.
Okay.
Because a topic sentence will be a fairly clear sentence at the beginning of a paragraph, which will show what will come in the next stages of the paragraph. It's kind of like an introduction to the paragraph.
Sorry, Ashley, why they don't use it? Why they don't use that sentence one in the paragraph in kind of these texts?
Because the texts aren't necessarily essays; they're just texts. Whereas topic sentences are needed in essays.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Cool. No worries. Introduction, body. So topic sentence 1, supporting details, concluding sentence. Okay. And what would supporting details be?
Some examples or evidences or
good examples.
Yeah.
Excellent. Examples, evidence. Yep. Examples, evidence, and explanations. Yeah.
So just having facts.
Wow. Yep. Usually facts come in sort of numerical form. We in academic English, we like you to use language to sort of explain the facts as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So when you use a lot of facts, you have to reference more.
Yeah.
Which can be problematic because referencing, like in theory, it's a simple idea, but it's not always that easy to do. All right. Good. And then topic sentence 3, supporting details, concluding sentence. Okay. And then our conclusion usually restates the thesis and summarizes our arguments. All right. So in an introduction, the background, this introduces your reader to the topic. Okay, so you can include a general statement about the particular topic. Okay. Can anyone think of a background sort of sentence or a attention grabber sentence that we could use about the tidal power reading we did on Monday?
Exact sentence or just any sentence?
Just an example.
Undersea of turbine.
Undersea turbines.
Like as a future substitution for the renewable energy. Like, I think in this statement we will use like a hook for the reader,
Yes, we need a hook. Yes,
A hook, yep.
we call that an attention grabber.
Yep.
Tidal power.
Yeah.
Okay.
So how can we hook someone about tidal power? How do we make someone want to really read more about tidal power?
We can
To make
say
it attractive or
Persuade.
sometimes we can start with a question.
You can starting with the questions probably a little bit informal.
we can say the power sources are changing.
Yep. Okay.
This time.
Yeah.
You need we can say you need a new source, or you need to know about new sources. Something that
Okay.
attracts people. Maybe if you want to know about new cheaper sources of power, you have to know tidal power turbines.
I think if we start with the final impacts to grab attention, like I give the final impacts.
Yep. Can you give me an example?
Like destruction of our Earth, maybe. Like I'll start with some results here.
Okay, so for example, more environmentally friendly methods of power generation are receiving more attention. Yep, Alfie, I like that too. Okay, so I've put in a couple of examples of attention grabbers into the chat. But yeah, depending on the topic, I mean, some topics it's kind of easier to write an attention grabber than others, but just so long as it's general, okay? Now, the thesis statement, this is your main idea, argument, or claim that you will try to prove in your essay. Okay. For example, this essay will show that tidal power is an effective method of generating electricity in places with abundant water resources,
Or we can say in comparison to other renewable energy.
Yep.
Turbines or undersea turbines are cheaper than, or are cheap, or cost efficiency.
Yep, or
they are
offer
associated with cost efficiency.
Yeah, offer a variety of benefits, including relative cost efficiency and less environmentally damaging.
Yeah.
Cool. So you're just telling the reader what your essay will argue. Okay. Essays can also include an outline. They don't always. It depends on the sort of length. If it's a longer paper, sort of 1,000 to 2,000 words at university, then an outline is okay. However, if it's in a sort of problems or solutions or argument essay, you won't really be required to include an outline. Okay, so body paragraphs can follow the same pattern, which is teal. Teal, okay, the acronym T represents the T in teal, okay. So this introduces the topic, claim, or argument for the paragraph, and this must link to your thesis statement, which I can't remember which student said it before, but someone did, so well done for that student that did say that. Okay. Now, the reason why your topic sentence needs to connect with your thesis statement is because we like consistency. Okay. Now, elaboration. This explains the topic claim argument in further detail and may also include an example. Okay. Now, the evidence supports your topic or claim or argument, and it usually comes from a reliable source and be referenced with an in-text citation. Okay. IELTS exams are less detailed in the evidence section here, depending on whether or not you've been given any input material. However, when you are at university, you will be required to use an academic resource, usually from your university's library, as your evidence input. Now, linking and concluding sentences are optional. I like to see them in students' writing though, because it adds cohesion and cohesiveness, and then we sort of can see what will be the next paragraph when you have a linking sentence. Okay, so it can take on two forms. It can either summarize your paragraph or it can link to the next paragraph. Okay. Now, remember, one paragraph should include one topic, claim, or argument. Okay. If you want to make them longer, you can just add more explanations and evidence. Any questions so far about that? Any questions?
Oh, good.
All good? Excellent.
Sorry, Ashley.
Yes.
One question about when can I use the outline if the essay more than 2,000 words, as you said?
From my own position as a student in university, I only found it necessary to write an outline when it was a longer paper. I don't think it's necessary for shorter papers.
Thanks.
Yeah, and you can just use fairly simple language to describe an outline. You know, for example, you can sort of just summarize what each body paragraph will include in the introduction. For example, it will be shown that A, it will also be shown that B, it will be discussed that C. Okay. But yeah, it's not always necessary in shorter essays. Cool.
Yep.
All right. So conclusions, we need to restate the thesis. What do we mean by this when we restate the thesis?
Paraphrase?
Yes, excellent.
Paraphrasing.
Yes, that's right. We must paraphrase the thesis. Okay, so your thesis statement in your conclusion needs to be different from your thesis statement in your introduction, in the sense that the idea is the same, but the language used is different. Okay, so paraphrased. Okay, so do not simply copy the thesis statement from the introduction. You need to rewrite it or reword it. Okay, you can summarize your main points. Okay, a good way to summarize your main points is essentially to paraphrase the topic sentences. Okay, because it should only be 2 or 3 sentences there. And you can make a final statement that shows how your topic, claim, argument is true, or how you believe it is true. And importantly, a conclusion should never introduce any new topic, claim, or argument. Okay.
Sorry, Ashley, is that okay if in conclusion, if I make paraphrasing for introduction?
You can paraphrase the You can paraphrase the thesis statement from your introduction. However, I don't recommend you paraphrase the introduction because you should be summarizing the main points which are in the body paragraphs.
Yep. Thank you.
That's all right. Now, a cheat way, and I don't mean this negatively, but a cheat way of summarizing your main points is to look at your topic sentences because they are summaries of the main ideas in each body paragraph. What you can do to save time is think about ways to paraphrase your topic sentences in your body paragraphs as a way of summarizing the main points in your conclusion.
Yep.
Okay. It's an easier way to do it, especially when there are time pressures in essays. Good. If so, and this last point there, if you think of a new topic, claim, or argument in your conclusion, it's better to go back and include it in a body paragraph or leave it out. All right, any questions?
All good.
All good? Cool. All right, good one. Okay, so we finished that. All right, so what we'll do now is we'll look at essays in a little bit more detail, and then when we've finished that, we'll move into the structure of a report. Okay. So can everybody please open the EPIC 1 document that was sent yesterday or possibly on Monday? EPIC 1, 3.2 EPIC 1. Kevin, you are always in different locations.
Yeah. Essay writing?
Yes, essay writing. Yeah.
Yeah.
All good.
You need a card?
No.
And I have to the office. Get back around 12.
All good.
Right.
Yeah.
Thanks, bye.
Cheers, man.
Oh, it's going all good?
All good, yeah.
All right. Cool. So when
Sorry, is it 3.2?
3.2 EPIC 1. Yeah, but the document I'm sharing on the screen. Cool. Essay writing. So essays are one of the most common ways that universities address your understanding of a topic. All right, so we've already sort of looked at that. All right. What I would like you to do, please, is I would like you to read this model answer. Do the advantages of living in Melbourne outweigh the disadvantages?
Now.
Look, a lot of things we need to separate them from COVID contexts. But, I think you, as frustrating as lockdowns have been, Rahim, I still think Melbourne is a better place to be than most other places, even during coronavirus.
Yep.
Look, that's my opinion, so I might put that in my thesis statement, but your thesis statement's totally up to you.
How long
I agree with you, Ashley.
How long have you lived here?
How long have I lived here?
Yeah.
Well, I was born here. I was born in Melbourne.
Fair
Yeah,
enough.
I grew up in Williamstown.
Okay.
Which is where some of you are working on the Williamstown North level cost removal project. Yeah, look, I'm very lucky. Williamstown is a very nice, middle class suburb on the water.
Nice area. Yeah.
Yeah, and now I live in Yarraville, which is also a nice suburb opposite a park. But you know, like everybody, it's all relative, and sometimes I get frustrated with being stuck in my apartment all the time. Anyway, so that's a separate issue for another time. So guys, can you please read this essay about the advantages of living in Melbourne? outweighing the
Yep.
disadvantages. Okay.
Yep.
Yep.
All right, and just let me know when you've finished. Okay, I'll put those instructions in there.
Yeah.
Okay, working towards herd completion.
I think the main advantage they didn't mention in the essay. But maybe Middle Eastern, they know it.
I can see three. I think I can see 3 advantages and 2 disadvantages. But anyway, we'll look more at those specific examples a little bit later. All right. Cool. Good. I think we've achieved herd completion. The Premier and Prime Minister will be very happy. Okay, good. So when we, yes, that's right, Mohammed Tokman. I am very funny. Now, the question, before you start writing any essay, it is essential to understand the task. Okay, so you need to read the question carefully. So what was the task in the previous essay?
Advantages and disadvantages of living in Melbourne.
Yeah, that's right. So essentially to think and brainstorm and generate ideas about the advantages and disadvantages of living in Melbourne, and then create an argument based on that. Okay.
Did I miss something? Because I left, I mean, my mobile turned off, so.
No, because you read the text, didn't you? Yes, at 9:46. No, you didn't. You didn't miss anything. You can relax.
Thanks.
We're just moving on. Like we've all read the text now. We're just thinking about what we need to do next. Okay, good. So if you're doing something like the advantages and disadvantages of living in Melbourne, we can brainstorm and plan. So what does brainstorm mean?
Sharing.
Generate ideas.
Yeah.
Generate ideas. Yeah.
That's right.
Immediate ideas.
Yeah. We don't think about it too much. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Generate and list ideas without much evaluation. We're just sort of gathering, and then we pick the ones we want most, right?
That's right.
Cool. Okay, so we understand the question, then we begin to brainstorm, all right? Then we think about the structure, okay? So when we have brainstormed, okay, you need to present them in a clear structure. We don't need to include all the ideas, we pick and choose the best ones, or we pick and choose the best ones we think we can use. Okay, then we present them in a clear structure. Okay, remember, essays are all about clearly and logically supporting your ideas. The thesis statement is supported by the topic sentences. Okay, and the topic sentences are supported by evidence, and the evidence is supported by the explanation. So it sort of just flows, it trickles down. Cool. So this is a summary. This is a summary of the structure that we looked at in the PowerPoint.
No. Don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it. All right. Cool. So let's have a look at the model essay again. What we want to do is identify the paragraphs. So the task, read the model essay, and there are 4 paragraphs. Label the introduction, body paragraph 1, body paragraph 2, and the conclusion. I think that's very easy for you guys. So let's just do it together. So obviously this is the introduction, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
I'll just put that as a number. Okay. And this is
The body 1.
good.
Body 1, yeah.
Good. Body 1, which is disadvantages.
Yeah.
Okay. Interestingly, they've gone for the disadvantages first.
However.
And this one,
Body 2.
Good. 2
Advantages.
advantages. Then obviously this is the
Conclusion.
conclusion. All right, excellent. Good. Now, in the introduction, when we read the introduction of the model essay, we can see that it is made of two parts, general statements and the thesis statement. The essay question tells us that the subject of the essay is living in Melbourne.
Yep.
Okay. You'll notice that the first sentence in the model essay does not even mention Melbourne, okay, because it is general. Okay, so we're building from general to specific. I'll just put that in a little comment. Building from general to specific. In fact, Melbourne is not even mentioned until the thesis statements. So when you are writing your introduction, think about the general theme of the subject. Okay, so the theme's moving and living in other cities. It's not really about Melbourne, it's about the process of moving to other cities or the experiences of living in other cities. Okay, and the writer provides reasons why people might move, and these general statements serve to introduce the reader to the subject of this particular essay, living in Melbourne. Okay. Cool. So for an essay like this, we would not start with the advantages of living in Melbourne are. Okay. Certainly not in an introduction, more appropriate in a body paragraph, but we would want to have a more formal topic sentence to introduce the advantages than just saying the advantages of living in Melbourne are. So what we want to do is identify the theme of the exam subject and write some general statements about the theme before stating the purpose. Okay, so like I was saying before, we're just sort of building a picture. All right. Now, the thesis statement is the last sentence in the introduction. It tells the reader the purpose of the essay, which is to discuss the advantages and disadvantages of living in Melbourne. The conclusion will give your decision about whether the advantages outweigh the disadvantages. Cool. All right, let's move on to this activity because I think you guys, are there any questions about introductions, I guess, that we've just covered?
I remember one of my teachers says, when you write essay, I want to see you there, which means you need to use I believe, you know, my opinion is, my point of view is. Is it wrong? Because when I look at the introduction of this essay, the last sentence, it's a very general, it's very generic statement.
Mm-hmm.
The writer is missing there.
Yeah, I guess the question is about the advantages outweighing the disadvantages, but it's not really asking for your opinion or your experiences. It's about sort of analyzing them in a general way. I see what you're saying. Some teachers like the use of personal pronouns in academic writing, whereas others don't. I think for argument or opinion-based essays, it's more appropriate for personal pronouns, whereas for these kind of discussion-based essays, I don't think you do need to use personal experiences as much or putting the I in the essay, as you said.
Okay. So the other thing is, since we mentioned two reasons for Melbourne, the advantages of Melbourne, should we use before the last sentence like a conclusion types of, or a linking word like therefore, thus, the advantages
In the body paragraph or in the conclusion? Or in the introduction?
In the introduction, the last sentence, first two reasons are nominated or mentioned. And for instance, it says Melbourne is a city which attracts a variety of people for these reasons. Therefore, the advantage of living in Melbourne outweigh
You could say something like, therefore, this essay will argue that the advantages of living in Melbourne outweigh the disadvantages. Yes, you could use a linking word in that situation.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Let's have a look at the topic sentences in B1 and B2. So in this paragraph, where's the topic sentence?
One disadvantage is cost.
No,
There are two main disadvantages.
Yes.
Two main, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so this is topic sentence. This is the topic sentence. One disadvantage is cost. What's this?
Supporting idea.
Yeah, it's
evidence,
it's an explanation of
explanation.
Yeah, or explanation or an example. It's an example of a disadvantage, which is then explained here. Okay, with the Big Mac and Coca-Cola example. All right, good. And what is the topic sentence in paragraph 2?
Living in Melbourne has many advantages.
Yes. Okay. So these are pretty clear. Good.
And however, the linking word.
Yep. Yes. So that's a good observation. So, however, is linking a contrast between paragraph 1 and paragraph 2. Very good. Well observed. This links a contrast between paragraph 1 and 2. All right, good. Okay, so the topic sentence tells the reader the main idea of the paragraph, which we've identified, and it clearly states whether advantages or disadvantages are being discussed. Okay.
Sorry, Ashley.
With the second paragraph.
Yep.
Second paragraph, wouldn't you need some facts to show what the cost is for, like, in other states, to like make it a strong point?
It does look. It doesn't. I'm not saying that this is a strong essay. It's just an example.
All right.
Yes. The disadvantages are not explained in the same level of detail, such as comparisons to other states. I think that's Kevin that said that. Yeah, I agree. There could be a greater depth of explanation by comparing it to other states, but the writer has chosen just to explain it through the through the lens of convenience food.
Okay, so another issue with this, I don't know if we reach that point to review the essay, because now we are talking about the structure of the essay, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if we look at the content of the essay, I would say the body of the essay doesn't match the introduction. Why? For two reasons. Because what it says in the bodies, it's not related to the reasons that Misha mentioned in the introduction of the essay, because there are two reasons mentioned for the advantage of living in Melbourne in the introduction, which is better education and employment opportunities. Whereas if we look at the advantages that the writer explained in details. Nothing mentioned about those 2 reasons that he or she mentioned in his or her introduction. So it's
Yes.
not really.
Yes, they mentioned shopping, hospitals, and multiculturalism. Yes, I agree. And like I said before, it's not an example of a perfect essay. It's just more about the structure. However, this information here, the reason why you can include this in an introduction is because it's general. So the first few sentences in an introduction can be more general, and then your thesis statement can be more specific, and then your topic sentences support the thesis statement. Okay, you don't have to talk about the reasons or the examples you give in your body paragraph in the introduction. Otherwise, your introduction will be too long. That's why you can keep it general.
No. What I'm saying, okay, the question is, do the advantage of living in Melbourne outweigh the disadvantage? And then it says discuss. It means give two different opinions. And so I would say, okay, the advantage of living in Melbourne outweighs the disadvantage for 2 reasons. Let's say. Yeah. And then I give those 2 reasons in the introduction to tell the reader that I have 2 reasons for my argument.
Yes, you can. So you can, you can list the, like I said, it's not a perfect essay. It's just about this. It's about the structure. Yes, you could say this essay will show that the advantages of multiculturalism, shopping, and high quality schools and hospitals outweigh the disadvantages. Like you can be more specific in the thesis statement. Yes.
Actually, from introduction, I understand the author bias toward advantages of Melbourne.
Yes,
he's more biased. Yep. He's not neutral.
How is the author not neutral?
Because he focused in introduction about the advantages from introduction.
Yeah. There isn't much consideration of the disadvantages in the introduction. Yep.
Okay, and another point. Sorry, Mustafa, finish?
Yes.
Okay, another point in the disadvantage, the writer first mentioned that living in Melbourne is expensive. Okay, and it says the price of accommodation is much higher than many major cities around the world. And then he wrote something exactly opposite the disadvantage. And he tells us different information by saying most Melburnians can afford comfortable accommodation with electricity, hot water. So which means the accommodation is more is affordable in Melbourne.
Yes.
I think it's higher than other countries, but affordable for people living here. It's high and high. Yeah, it's high, but people can do it even hardly, but they can do it.
Okay, so two things in response to that. This is not about whether or not people cannot afford it. It's just more of a statement that it's expensive relative to the rest of the world. So they're kind of separate. They're separate arguments, I think. And another point is, like I said, like you don't have to agree with the quality of the responses or the quality of the arguments. It's just to show you the structure and identifying the parts of the speech.
Yeah, because you mentioned about consistency, so that's what I picked some of those.
Yes, but so high standard of living and the price of food and accommodation are sort of different things. Like for example, it frustrates me how expensive some things in Melbourne are, but my wage is good So that sort of, for me, that outweighs the negative of the high cost of living because you kind of you accept it, right? I think that's kind of what they're saying.
Actually, I think what he's pointing here is the quality of the houses. So whether it's a bit expensive, but still, so you have good quality houses.
Yeah, so high quality hospital. So this is more about can afford. Okay, so that's about sort of income, and this is more about how much things cost. So cost and income are sort of different ideas, I think.
Because there is a strong statement in the first body, it says it is very expensive to live in the city. And then
Well, that's true, isn't it?
From who? From international students, from rich people, from middle class people?
Well, it's like I said, it's all relative.
Okay. And then we say if somewhere is expensive, but in the same time the majority of people can afford live there.
Mm-hmm.
So do you still consider that place is expensive?
I would, yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. That's the way I see the world, yeah. Yep. Some things can be expensive, but that doesn't mean that they are not. Remember that word that we used a few lessons ago? That does not mean that they are prohibitive.
Yeah.
Okay, so prohibitive, yeah. So generally, electricity, hot water, heating and cooling is not prohibitive for most Melburnians because, yeah, probably due to high wages and high standards of living. All right, cool. Let's get going. All right. Main ideas. So what do you think of the main ideas in body paragraph 1?
Disadvantages. Yeah.
Disadvantages.
Yeah. Okay. So disadvantages. We'll put that in blue. So cost. What else?
Public transport and reliability.
Yes, is unreliable goods.
Mm.
Okay, and the main ideas in body paragraph 2.
It is advantages.
Advantage.
Yep. Okay.
Multicultural city.
Yeah, multicultural city. Uh-huh.
And the high quality of
Yep.
the hospitals and schools, universities.
Yeah. So high
We can
standard.
say the prosperity of the city.
Yeah, that would probably be, that's a good summary. Yeah, of what of the advantages, I would say. And then also shopping for all budgets. Okay. All right, guys. Main ideas. All right. What about evidence? So what's the evidence used in body paragraph?
The McDonald's
The cost.
pricing.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yep. Okay, so you always got to use McDonald's, right? So main ideas in blue and evidence. I'll put evidence in green. Okay, good. Okay, so the Big Mac and the Coke. It's not, it's not the most important example. There's more to life and expenses than Big Macs at McDonald's, but everybody knows what a Big Mac is. That's probably why they've used it.
It's essential, yeah.
Well, McDonald's is always open and they always deliver, so the government considers it essential. Okay. Also here, common for trains to run late. I guess that's an example, but with no data. There's no sort of numerical figure, but it's still data. What about in paragraph 2?
So the first is the
shopping.
I can mention the brand or like the shopping center.
Yeah.
You can take a part in cultural events.
Yeah, so these are sort of, the evidence here come in the form of examples, whereas the evidence in the disadvantages came more in the form of data. Okay, so there's a little bit of a difference. Usually data or anything with a number is considered higher quality or stronger evidence, just because we can quantify it. But yeah, we've got these examples, okay, of multiculturalism, and then these examples of aspects of high quality living. So I'll just make it a little note there. Example. Okay, good. All right, let's look at the conclusion. Restatement of the thesis. The advantages of living in Melbourne outweigh the disadvantages.
Yep, this one.
Yes, but what's wrong with it? Restate. What does restate mean?
Repeated sentence.
Yes, it means paraphrase. Has this been paraphrased?
It's repeated, isn't it?
I think it's the exact same. The advantages of living in Melbourne outweigh the disadvantages. The advantages of living in Melbourne outweigh the disadvantages. Okay. It has been stated again, but needs to be paraphrased, right? Okay, although it is expensive, I'm just going to put this in blue because that's the main idea, and the transport is unpredictable. A diverse population and the quality of its services, healthcare and education. Okay, and variety of shopping.
It summarizes.
Yes, so this is a summary of the main ideas. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Actually, from linking word, can we know the type of essay? Like for, however, the linking word, we will understand this argumentative essay.
Yeah, so with contrast linking words like however, then we might understand that it will be an advantages or disadvantages or possibly problems and solutions. Or an argument in essay. Yep.
Not always. Is it always or not?
We use contrasting linking language like however in a variety of essays. It's not always it's not always in an essay like this, and it's not always used. It's just used to indicate an opposing view or a different idea, and that happens all the time.
Yep.
Cool. All right. Good. All right. Any questions about that so far?
Yep. Ashley, I just have questions about this introductions. The first paragraph, yeah, about the advantage of living in Melbourne outweigh the disadvantage. I think it's a conclusion more than introductions.
Which part?
The advantage of living in Melbourne outweigh the disadvantage.
Yeah, so this is I guess it can be used in the introduction and the conclusion because it's the thesis statement. So that's what the essay is showing, and then we can see that through the essay. Then in the conclusion, we need to restate it. So it has to happen again. So it's included in both.
Okay.
So we've got the thesis statement here, and then usually the first sentence of the conclusion is a restatement of the thesis. Okay, but it should be paraphrased.
That's good.
All right. Cool. How are we going? All right.
Question.
Yep.
Yeah. I just want to ask you about the whole passage right now, or the essay itself. When you look at it, somehow most of the words, or all the words actually, somehow are simple, easy, and they are not complicated. And I'm talking. I just want to actually talk about my own experience. When I start actually thinking and trying actually to write an essay or a report, straight away all these complicated words actually come from nowhere, and I start actually to make the whole thing actually more complicated for the reader to understand. Why is that? And I don't know exactly how to fix this problem. Even it's not only English, even it's in my mother tongue language, Arabic. So I feel like sometimes I struggle just to simplify my words instead of using like simple words.
Well, I agree. So I guess you're talking about reports and academic writing, right? Or
yes.
Academic articles. Yeah. So academic register. So register is talking about the sort of perceived level of difficulty and complexity used. The register in academic writing, so articles and reports, is always higher than an essay like this.
Okay.
And academic writing often explains fairly simple concepts in as you've just articulated quite well, in a way that is unnecessarily difficult.
Exactly right. Yeah.
Yeah, and that happens in English, and that obviously happens in Arabic as well. Yeah, that's my answer to that question. It's an increase in the register.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks.
So don't worry about it. What I find with academic writing is if you've got a really good understanding of the abstract and then the results and the conclusion, a lot of the other information is not unnecessary, but sort of superfluous. So yeah, like the abstracts actually very effectively summarize the contents or the content of a research paper or an article or a report. But reports won't have an abstract, whereas an academic article will. Well, some reports will, but not all.
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks.
Cool. All right. So let's have a quick look at linking. What linking words can you see here?
However.
In conclusion.
Yeah.
However.
Okay. So however is a good one. I will put this in red. Okay. Furthermore as well, for an additional idea.
In addition.
For example, there's also a linking device. In addition, first of all, good. In addition, all right. Okay.
Most important.
Good. Most importantly, as you can see, okay, because it's linking back to the ideas before. Okay.
Actually, just a quick question, please.
Sure.
When do you add the linking words, and when you don't need to?
That's a good question. So when you introduce an example, it's always good to. Yeah. When you are introducing an additional idea, then you would use an additional idea linking word like furthermore. when you are introducing an idea that is quite different to the previous idea that you have discussed, then you can introduce something like however. Also, when your response is staged or sequenced, then you can sort of say first, second, third. We use linking. We use linking all the time. Sometimes students use too much linking because they're trying to show the teacher that they know how to use a variety of linking, and it can look a bit little bit sort of awkward and contrived and forced, sort of unnatural. So yeah, you should use it a lot.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's okay not to.
Thanks for that. If you look at the introduction, for example, so when here, the second paragraph.
Yeah.
In the first sentence, so it says one disadvantage is cost, and then full stop, and then he said it's very expensive to live in the city.
Yeah.
Doesn't he need a linking word for this sentence? And then he said the price, la 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 la.
Well, what do you think? So we've got for example, furthermore. That's probably enough.
Because it's confusing for me sometimes. Do I need to use it or not? Yeah.
I mean, you could use here. In addition, it is common for trains to run late. Okay, because you're introducing an additional idea.
Yeah.
I don't think you need to link cost and expense. They're kind of saying the same thing.
Okay.
Yeah. You could. So here you could say firstly, one disadvantage is cost if you wanted to add a linking word there. But you've already got two linking devices in a small sentence. Sorry, in a small paragraph, so you don't really need to.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. I think we will come back to this later, because it's 10:26 and it's everybody's tea and coffee break. So are there any questions just before we have a 15-minute or we'll come back at 10:45. But do you guys have any questions?
All good.
All good.
No, thank you.
Yeah. It sounds like you guys have had good teachers in the past because you're able to identify the components really effectively. I'm very impressed.
Thank you.
Ashley?
Yes.
How we can get the document that include your comments?
I did send them to Adam and I asked him to send to you. Did you? Has everybody?
We haven't received any. Yeah.
Okay. I will speak to Adam or Joel because I've been keeping them and I assumed they were sending them to you. Normally I would send them as attachments in the Microsoft Teams chat, but because you guys, I haven't added you as enrolled students at Swinburne, I'm not able to send them. But I will get them to you. I'll get them to you straight after class.
Thank you.
I will remind my colleagues to send them to you.
No worries. Okay. Okay. Thank
It's
you.
just look, when students are enrolled and I can just add you through Teams through Swinburne, then it's so much easier to distribute materials. But Swinburne, it's a wonderful place and I'm glad you guys are there, but sometimes their processes are a bit slow. I'll just say that much. I won't say anything else. They also give me a job and it means I can buy a coffee and Big Macs. All right, guys, enjoy your break, and I'll see you soon.
Thanks, Ashley.
It's like Aziz is already on break. He's talking to someone else.
Sorry, what time is what time we should back?
10:45.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Cheers. Bye.